In my experiment, I took a look at the effects of herbicides on an invasive species called garlic mustard. In my experiment, I tested chemical herbicide and an organic herbicide to see which would be more effective in killing the garlic mustard plant. Garlic mustard is a herbaceous plant that is not native to the United States. About 150 years ago, this invasive species began spreading throughout the U.S. The plant made its way over from Europe and parts of Asia in the 1800s. Garlic mustard was used as a source of food and possibly had medicinal purposes due to its high levels of vitamins A and C. Garlic mustard today is considered one of the worst invasive species in both the Northeast and Midwest United States. The non-native plant has made its way up the northeast of the United States and all the way up into some parts of Canada. Garlic mustard has also made its way as far west as Washington and Utah. Garlic mustard is a biennial plant. This means it takes up to 2 years for the plant to reach full maturity and produce seeds. During its first year of growth, it may be a little more difficult to spot, but the leaves will be dark green, heart-shaped with scalloped edges. If you were to crush the leaves, you would get a distinct smell of garlic. In its second year of growth, it will produce a white flower and grow up to 3.5 feet. The scalloping around the edges of the leaves will also become sharper as the plant matures. Once garlic mustard takes hold of an area, it spreads quickly. This invasive plant species is one of the few that can take hold in the undergrowth of forest habitats. Garlic mustard can be found in disturbed wooded areas and on the edges of forests. This is because people and animals transport the seeds as they pass by the plants, although it has been found to grow in undisturbed woodlots as well. As the plant begins to increase in numbers, it will tend to choke out all other herbaceous species in the area. The dense growth of garlic mustard will take control of the resources, which include light, water, and nutrients. Here I've placed a map of New York showing the density of garlic mustard from 1994 to 2014. As you can see from this map, during this time period, garlic mustard sightings can be seen throughout the state. This map was taken from an application called IMAP Invasives, which I have utilized in my project and will further discuss in my methods. In my experiment, I used both a chemical and organic herbicide on the garlic mustard plant. I hypothesized that the chemical herbicide will be more effective than the organic herbicide in killing the garlic mustard, although I do expect to see the organic herbicide to have effect on the garlic mustard. For this experiment, I used the materials listed. IMAP invasive, picture this, 3 garlic mustard plants, 3 clay pots, planting soil, a chemical herbicide in which I used Roundup, and an organic herbicide which was made up for this experiment. In order to test my hypothesis of chemical versus organic herbicides, I first had to locate the plant. For this, I used an application on my iPhone called IMAP Invasive. This application was created by SUNY ESF to identify and locate invasive plant species in both New York and across the United States. I was able to locate a grouping of garlic mustard growing in a local park near my home. To make sure I correctly identified the garlic mustard once I found this grouping, I used another application called Picture This. This application allows the user to take a picture of the garlic mustard or whatever plant they may have in front of them and identify it instantly. This application made sure that the garlic mustard was correctly identified before I began my project. Once identified, I collected 3 garlic mustard plants from the same area. This was done so that these plants were exposed to the same resources and elements. I wanted to take into consideration such as soil content, light exposure, other plants in the area, and accessibility to water. These plants were then taken and replanted into individual planters so that they were isolated from one another. Once garlic mustard was replanted, I gave them a resting period to make sure they were successfully transferred into the individual pots. These 3 pots consisted of 3 different groups test group 1, which was going to receive my organic herbicide, test group 2 receiving the chemical herbicide, and my third group, which will be my control group, receiving no herbicide. My experiment lasted 1 week. On the first day, I added the herbicides to 2 out of the 3 plants. Test group 1 received my organic herbicide, test group 2 received my chemical herbicide, and my third group received no herbicide, being it was my control group. Throughout the week, all 3 plants received the same amount of water and sunlight, the herbicide being the only factor that was changing. The chemical pesticide that was used in this experiment was Roundup. This is a common weed and grass killer. It was chosen because it's readily available. The main ingredient in Roundup is glyphosate. Glyphosate is one of the most common herbicides used worldwide. The organic herbicide I used was made of common ingredients that can be found at home. The organic herbicide for this experiment consisted of a half gallon of vinegar, half a cup of salt, and 2 tablespoons of dish soap. At the end of the week, I took pictures of the plants, and here are my results. These are pictures of test group 1, which was my organic herbicide. As you can see from the pictures, the organic herbicide was able to do some kind of damage, affecting the leaves. They looked dry, wilted, but was not completely able to kill off the plant. Here are pictures of test group number 2. This one contained the chemical herbicide Roundup. As you can see, the Roundup was much more effective in killing the garlic mustard plant. The plant in test group 2 has observable damage to the leaves, there's a change in color, and the plant is no longer able to stand on its own. Finally, here are pictures of my control group. My control group remained the same throughout the span of this experiment. From what I observed, the leaves and integrity of the control group have remained the same, which is expected for the control. Was my hypothesis supported by my data? I believe that yes, it was. The organic herbicide applied to test group 1 was able to do damage to the garlic mustard plant, but not completely kill it off. You could see deterioration to its leaves and possibly to the structure of the plant. With the changes seen in the leaves, it appears as though the organic herbicide had effects on the water transportation within the plant. This could be because of the salt present in my organic herbicide. If a plant is compromised, leaves can be sacrificed to save the plant. These results observed from the organic herbicide support my hypothesis. The organic herbicide would have an effect on the garlic mustard plant, but ultimately not kill off the plant completely. With my chemical herbicide, Roundup, applied to test group 2, it was more effective in killing the garlic mustard plant. The plant in test group 2 had observable damage to leaves, had a change in color, and the plant is no longer able to stand on its own. These observations support my hypothesis as well, that the chemical herbicide would have the greatest effect on the garlic mustard plant. I believe I am seeing these observations because of the chemical glyphosate. Glyphosate is a common herbicide that is used around the world. It's mainly used in the regulation of plant growth and was first registered for use in 1974. Glyphosate works by inhibiting the production of certain proteins plants need to grow. The chemical was able to stop the growth of garlic mustard. My control group remained the same throughout the span of this experiment. These results are as expected because the group received no herbicides. This control group has no major changes, also means that other factors such as sunlight, water, soil, etc. were not also contributing to the degeneration of the plants. With all the observations and data collected from this experiment, I believe chemical herbicides are going to be more effective in killing off unwanted plant life. Chemicals such as glyphosate block the protein production of these targeted plants, and are able to stop plant growth. Although chemicals can be a problem because glyphosate is a non-selective herbicide, so there is a possibility of it affecting plants in the surrounding area. If you're trying to just kill off one plant, this might not be the most effective way to do so. But since garlic mustard in this experiment was isolated, I cannot say how it affects surrounding plants in the area. From this experiment, I can also see that organic herbicides have an effect on garlic mustard. I think it's a matter of finding the right quantity and ingredients that will play a key factor in how effective the organic herbicide can be. In future testing, I would consider expanding the number of plants or testing the herbicides out on an area where garlic mustard is not isolated and see how it affects the surrounding plant life. Additionally, I think that the applications that I used during this experiment, both IMAP Invasive and Picture That, are great resources. I encourage you to give them a try if you have the time. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.